Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the original Loretta Brown Show radio to open the heart, heal the soul, and awaken the consciousness. Good morning, Betty Mathers. How are you?
Wow, you sang into that one. That's a
I
good
know. I don't
one.
know what's
I
going
like
on
that.
today.
I like that version. Hey,
Okay.
reality check. I know, right?
Yes.
Way to play that one in there. We're halfway to Christmas. Can you believe it already? I know.
Are we really?
Yeah, July, August, September, October, November, December. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I told my boys that yesterday, and they're like, "We just had it." I'm like, "Right? That was a half a year ago." And they're like, "Oh, okay." And then they like space, like, "Ooh." Then they got big eyes. I'm like, "Yeah, you gotta start putting your lists together already."
Yep.
It
I hear you. I can't comprehend that. I'm not sure I can handle it.
I can't either.
On the countdown, you got to count that down. Some people do Christmas in July.
Yes.
I see no. I don't understand that, honestly.
Nah.
I'm like, yeah, not your thing, huh?
Nah, not really. Too many other holidays. Everyone like it goes bigger and bigger every year for holidays. So need a break.
Yeah. I agree with you. Yeah, you got anything fun coming up for the summer?
No, pretty much staying home. We kind of blew a lot of our financials on the house this year, so we're staying close to home. But we did get AC, so we're gonna enjoy that.
Oh, that's exciting because don't we have a couple of hot days coming up? Maybe.
Sure. I don't know. I'm not good at projecting that far out, but the East Coast is, so we'll follow suit.
Yeah, for sure. Well, okay, yeah, all right. That sounds great. I'll put up my countdown to Christmas.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, we're going to be right here at the end of June. I can't believe it's almost July. That's craziness also. But just to jump into the show, I am Loretta Brown. I'm the owner of Reiki Oasis, located right here in the greater Seattle area for a while, shall we say, 28 to 30 years. For those of you that can't figure out that I'm only 29, that's how that works. And you can find out all about me at ReikiOasis.com. I do have one, possibly two places still available for my Egypt trip. And I do take a very small group of sacred travelers to sacred sites. And so September 30 through October 14, we're going to Egypt. And I'm telling you right now, you need to come. This is very, very timely. Lots of stuff happening in Egypt if you haven't paid attention. They're talking about everything that's, under the pyramids and the Sphinx, and is it real and is it not real? And anyway, it's all real. So you need to just come along and add yourself to our group. It's a group of about 12, and we will be on a private yacht on the Nile for part of the time because that's how Loretta does it. If you're interested in coming to Egypt and maybe a 5-day extension to Petra, Jordan, send an email to ReikiOasis@gmail.com, and it'll come straight to me, and you can ask me about Egypt. By the way, Reiki is spelled ReikiOasis, ReikiOasis@gmail.com. Thanks so much. And I'm going to have a very short astrology check-in because I want my guest to be on the show for us every minute that we can give him, because I know he has a lot to talk about, and I'm excited to talk to him. So just to mention that we had a new moon in the watery emotional sign of Cancer yesterday, a new moon. There are many, many layers to this new moon, which may have us feeling a little bit up and down. A lot of my clients are feeling sensitive, emotional. Remember that Cancer is the sign of the crab, the very sensitive little crab. And we need this part of our watery nature in order to move forward in life. So take care of yourself. On one hand, we're greeted with some compassionate, warming vibrations that will allow us to feel abundant and connected to our hearts. And on the other hand, there's some tough love energy flowing in that wants us to focus on practical things and get things done. This new moon may hit us all a little differently, but staying present with whatever's coming up for you is the way to guide yourself through. I want to remind you that if you're sensitive, other people are also sensitive. So, yeah, that's all I got to say about that. And then today, June 26th, we have Mercury, the planet of communication, moving into the fiery sign of Leo. And this can turn up the drama. Mercury and Leo can be a great dynamic to express yourself and share with others, but it can also be over dramatic. So focus on the facts, take a look at all of that. And I always tell people, don't believe everything that you think, right? You could get yourself in trouble. And with all that, I'm just going to bring my guest on. My guest today is Jay Weidner. And I just have to tell you, Jay to me is a legend. He's a legend in the world of esoteric wisdom, hidden history, visionary filmmaking. He's described by Wired magazine as an authority on the hermetic and alchemical traditions. Jay Weidner is a filmmaker and author, a modern mystic who has been called a real-life Indiana Jones. You need your hat, Jay, for his relentless quest to uncover the spiritual secrets buried in ancient texts, symbols, and architecture. He's the writer-director of the visionary film, The Last Avatar, and the groundbreaking documentaries, Kubrick's Odyssey. I think there's 3 of those now. I think Jay just put another one out. Secrets. Let's see. He's also put out a movie recently, JFK X, I think it's called. Jail. Correct me on that. He's the former director of content at Gaia, back when it was Gaia TV, right? And Jay was instrumental in bringing forward transformative series like Cosmic Disclosure, Wisdom Teachings, Deep Space, amplifying suppressed knowledge and awakening conversations around truth, disclosure, and transformation. He has deep roots in radio and alternative media, and was telling me before the show, he used to be here in Seattle. Woohoo! Got to have a little like woohoo, like the wave or something for you. And Jay has never shied away from asking bold questions and talking about uncomfortable truth. So we're going to have a very interesting conversation today. Jay, thank you so much for being on my show. Welcome.
Hey, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. I have 50 questions right out the chute. Let's see which horse is going to go first, right? I would love to know, let's just fill in the gap a little bit. How did you get into all of this spiritual discovery? What happened? Did you have something happen in your life that sort of woke you up or brought you online?
Yeah, when I was 7 years old, my little brother was born. I was living in a very poor house. We had four kids at that moment with my parents, and we had a 2-bedroom house. My dad was making like $12,000 a year or something. And so my older brother and I slept in a double bed in one of the bedrooms. My little sister slept in my parents' closet, and then the baby was born, so she had to move into our room so that the baby could be put in the closet. Anyway, on the very first night that she moved into our room, she had extremely red hair and extremely pale skin, and is a very unusual looking person. And I woke up middle of the night, and I looked over at her cot, which was at the bottom of our double bed, and there were, I don't know how to explain this, there were 3 translucent humanoid beings floating over her and doing like Reiki on her. They were putting their hands over her, and they weren't touching her. And I must have made a noise when I saw it, because one of them turned around and looked at me, and it was a woman, it was a female. And she floated over to me, and she got real close to my face, and she reached in, she touched my third eye, and I immediately was paralyzed. I could not move anything on my body except my eyes. So I kept watching them, but I couldn't move. And they did this for about 5 or 6 more minutes, and then they flew right through the wall, out of the room through the wall. And I woke up. I told my mom. She said, "Oh, it's just a nightmare or a dream or something." And I said, "No, it wasn't." And so ever since then, I was just kind of gobbling up anything that could explain the paranormal, because I wanted to know what happened to me that night. And I was young, and so I didn't even know where to go at first. But eventually I became like, I won every award at the local library for the number of books I read. And, I just became an avid reader, because books were the only way in those days to get any information. And then later on, I kind of eschewed all of those spiritual beliefs and going to college, and I became a straight ahead scientific type of person. And then one day I found a book in a bookstore or in a garage sale called Mystery of the Cathedrals by an anonymous man named Fulcanelli, who was telling me that he was going to prove to the reader that alchemy was real. And of course, I knew alchemy was bunk. It was just made up bunk. So I took the book home and I was going to debunk the book. And in the end, the book debunked me. And by the time I got done with the third read of the book, I had completely transformed back into a person seeking deep spiritual knowledge. And I've never gotten over it.
Wow. That's amazing story. I love that story. So you actually have a book out about Fulca. You've got a book out about that called
Monument to the End of Time, came out in 99, and Mysteries of the Great Cross of Hendaye, 2004, published by Inner Traditions. You can get it online. Amazon has the last book. The first book's a very rare book to get. And yeah, all about my adventures in France, investigating alchemy and architecture and how cathedrals are, the Gothic cathedrals, there's 500 of them built from about 1100 till about 1350. And everybody wonders, why would they go through all this huge effort to build these cathedrals in such a quick time? And the answer is that the cathedrals were places of healing. There were no hospitals and there were no doctors. And so the Templars came back from Israel with their fortune and their alchemical knowledge, and they're the ones who financed and built the cathedrals in Paris and Poland and Germany and everywhere in Europe. And their purpose was to bring down the telluric energies from the atmosphere. The steeples would bring them down and would drop the energies to the floor. And on the floor in those days, there would be a labyrinth right underneath where this happens. And so you would walk the labyrinth absorbing these energies and you would get healed. And so the cathedrals were open 24/7 in those days. So you could go to the cathedral at 3 a.m. You'd find 15, 20 sick people on the pews trying to absorb the positive energies that the architecture of the cathedrals was creating. And and so we now realize that architecture is alchemy and not the architecture that we have today that has no power in it at all, especially glass and steel buildings. But if you look back at the older buildings, which are mostly kind of have curved edges, they always have a steeple or a tower, and arched doorways. Stained glass really helps the whole experience because you're messing with your pineal gland. The colors are changing it. Cathedrals also have crypts in the bottom, in the basement. There's a completely light-free crypt in every cathedral. So you go in there and you shut the door and you cannot see any light at all. It is pitch black. And this is all part of the alchemy of the secret societies that were building these cathedrals. And that got me started on, how can architecture be alchemical? How can architecture heal people? And my ultimate goal in all of this is that maybe in 100 years from now, when this knowledge finally gets out there, we can tear down our cities and rebuild them into beautiful sacred geometry patterns and buildings, and take note that aesthetic is health. Ugliness causes you to be in disease, where beauty causes you to get healthy. And right now we have a plethora of just nothing but ugly going on. And one of my great goals is to put an end to all that and bring back beauty.
Wow. Yes, and yes to every single thing you just said. I've been to Chartres Cathedral a couple of times, and to other great cathedrals, right? But Chartres in particular, to me, is just, even talking about it makes goosebumplies, right? Yeah. Even goosebumplies. And that labyrinth in there, but the windows, when I went into there the first time, honestly, I'm very energy sensitive in the first place. but it almost flattened me on my face. And I heard tones. So I don't know, you're going to be able to answer this. I felt like every single thing in there was resonant.
That's
Like,
what it is.
yeah.
Yeah. And the
Like,
the rose windows,
yeah.
they're cymatics. That's exactly what when you put sound on a plate and you put resonant frequencies through it, it changes into different geometries. And one of those geometries is exactly the rose window. It's at Chartres Cathedral. And that window shines down on the labyrinth. Chartres' the only one, I think, that has a labyrinth still. All the rest of them, they're satanic. We have to take them out. So they all took them out during the big scare in the 1500s and removed them, which is really rather unfortunate. But Chartres still has it. And it is, what an experience it is to walk the labyrinth at Chartres Cathedral, especially when that stained glass rose window is shining down on you with the blues and the reds and yellows. And we don't know how they did that, by the way. We don't know how they made those stained glass. That secret's been lost. They can't do that anymore. That the secret got lost somewhere in the 1400s. So what happened is that Europe was in a really, really cold place from about 400 AD till about 1000. We call it the Dark Ages. And then it warmed up. It warmed up considerably, actually. It was actually almost a Mediterranean climate from about 1000 till about 1350. And then the cold came, and then the plague came, and then, all hell broke loose at that point, and all the cathedral buildings stopped, and a lot of knowledge got lost. A lot of people died. I read an account once where a bishop in Ireland walked for 17 days and never saw a living being. Yeah, that's how bad it was.
Wow.
Probably a third to half of Europe. And the ironic thing is, if the Black Plague is that the people who were altruistic and helpful, they died first. The people who weren't helpful, who just ran and got away from everything, they lived. So it's kind of a telling thing that, the Black Plague, probably the survivors were not the best of people.
Right.
So, and then right after that became the conquering of America, again, with not very nice people. If you've ever read the histories of the conquering of the West, wow. I mean, the very worst Europeans arrived first, not the best. The criminals and psychopaths were the first white people that the Native Americans in the West met. They were never nice people. They were terrible people. And I'm sure the Native Americans wish they'd never met them.
Yeah. I was thinking about The Good Die Young, right? There's some kind of selection with that. That's a really good run through of that. This is possibly a side note. Well, I got two questions coming in. The first question I want to ask you, and you probably can answer this. When I'm standing in some place like Chartres Cathedral and there are these frequencies, I'm just going to use the word frequencies. I loved when you said cymatics because I've studied sound and healing. Is there a way, is that building responding to me? Am I responding to it? Do you understand what I mean? Like whatever frequencies I need. Can you talk to that?
So the universe is 99% plasma. Plasma is an electrical gas, and it's everywhere. Sun is plasma, stars are plasma, and we are plasma. And we call the plasma within us different names. It's chi, it's prana, has all sorts of different names. And the whole point of alchemy is to build up as much plasma, chi, prana inside your body as you can. In other words, I call it eating light. Chartres Cathedral is frozen sound. Okay, that's what it is. It's all the cathedrals are frozen sound. That's why it's cymatics in the rose window. The way the curves go, and everywhere when you get a Gregorian chant going in a cathedral, it's like, I don't know, ecstasy beyond ecstasy.
Yeah.
And so what you do when what the cathedrals are doing is they're bringing down the plasma energy through the steeples, and they're depositing it right on the floor. And then there's a well under the cathedral, and that's bringing the plasma energies up from the ground and from the earth, again, centering it right on the floor of the cathedral. So when you're on that floor and you're walking that labyrinth, you are absorbing huge amounts of chi, prana, plasma, whatever you guys want to call it, orgone. There's hundreds of names for it. Each culture has their own names for it. I choose Vedic names because they're easier for us to understand. But plasma is a great word because it's scientific and it can't be denied. So what we have here on Earth is we have these two plasma clouds that are about the length, or about as far away as the moon is. They're gigantic. They're 10 times the size of the Earth, each one, and they're called the Kordylewski clouds. And they're gigantic, huge plasma clouds. And we originate in these plasma clouds as spiritual beings. And then, for whatever reason, we decide that we want to go have a physical experience. And we have the earth right below us, which is our convenient place to go. And so we create a plasma filament, and we lower ourselves from the plasma cloud down to the earth. And then we're born. And the plasma filament is right here when we're a baby. And that's that soft spot that doesn't grow for a while. That's because the plasma filament is not done making you. And you're not really done, I think it's 9 months after you're born when it finally closes up. So this plasma filament is, it's called the Sushumna in the Vedic tradition. It's a millionth of size of width of your hair. So if you have a hair, it's a millionth of that. And it's invisible, although some mystics can see it. And then that feeds your plasma body. So your plasma body is your light body. It's all around you right now. It's all around you. If you're alive, you have it. And it's invisible, although some mystic can see your aura. But and you can, as you feed plasma through meditation and exercises and what you eat and going to Shark Cathedral and all the other things, there's also natural spots in nature where you can get these energies like Mount Shasta. And so if you're in a city, your light body tends to cling to the skin more because it doesn't want to intermix with strangers. Okay. So when you're in a city, it kind of clings to it. But if you're out in the country like I am, with no one around me, I can really expand my light body out to where it literally goes out 100 yards in all directions. And so when you die, and this is really the most important thing that I can tell anybody, when you die, what happens is as you get sick or whatever, you get in an accident or whatever, your plasma body begins shrinking. Okay. And when it gets to the skin level, you will begin getting cold because the plasma body literally is giving you about 5 degrees of temperature that you don't even know you're getting. So that your first sign that you're about to go is you'll get the chills. And that's the plasma body now outside, no longer outside your body, now inside your body. Then it will gradually fall and it wraps around your spinal column. Okay. That is, then it shoots up your spinal column through the Sushumna. That's the tunnel that you see when you die. That's you going through the Sushumna. And then your body dies and you go up back into the plasma cloud where you do a whole review of your life, usually from the moment of death backwards to birth. And I understand it can be quite an embarrassing thing for a lot of people. Not me, I'm perfect, but everybody. So,
Daniel Brinkley, I know Daniel.
Oh, yeah,
Brinkley.
good friend of mine.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And I explained this to Daniel one time about 5 years ago, and his jaw was dropping, and he goes, "My God, that's the greatest explanation I've ever heard." You know, and because he's been around hundreds and hundreds of dying vets. He comforts them, and he says, "I could watch exactly what you're saying going on. The chill, they start shaking, and then you can see the light going out of them." But anyway, you go back up into the Kordylewski plasma cloud, And you go up there and you spend whatever time to work out all the things that you did here on Earth. From people that I know who've been up there and back, apparently what happens when you die is you go up into this cloud, and if you're a good person, by the way, you don't get to go there, everybody. You're definitely, the Egyptians are right when they say that your heart is weighed at death. And if it's lighter than a feather, then you get to go up. If it's heavier than a feather, you get to go down, because guess what? There's a down too. I know New Agers don't want to hear that, but there is a down. You know, they have these deep shaft mines in South Africa, and the miners will be down there like way deep, and it's called I think they call it the dead screams, but their miners say that they can hear people screaming.
Yes.
And that's the souls that are trapped down underneath us, that they're not trapped there for eternity. But if you're a nasty person, you're going down. The gravity is going to pull you down. It's not going to let you go up. So, you know, I know it sounds highly immoral. I'm not a religious person. I don't go to church or anything,
Right.
but I just know that if I just see people, who lie and steal, and I can see their light body thinning out as they do it. Then pretty soon holes begin appearing in their light body where entities get in. Demons and archons, and they get in, and that's why you have to keep a protective layer going all the time. It has to be like highly disciplined, that you work every day at keeping your light body as strong as possible, because it's repellent entities that you don't want around you. Look into the work of Barbara Brennan. She's really got great drawings in her books about what I'm talking about. She's been a big influence on my life. Unfortunately, she's no longer with us, but her books are great. And so that's really alchemy in a nutshell. And you don't need any drugs. You don't need anything at all, actually. It's just, you know, your attitude is, of course, really important. The universe reflects back whatever you are, whatever your attitude is. So if you wake up feeling crappy, guess what? Everybody around you is going to feel crappy. If you wake up in a bad mood, guess what? Everybody around you is going to be in a bad mood. It doesn't matter how good a mood they are to you, they're going to be in a bad mood. So you make your reality. And what you're doing is the plasma universe is like a mirror, and it reflects back whatever it is that you're thinking. And it works like a partner with you. The universe is talking to you all the time, and you are not listening. Most of us are not even listening. And so you have to pay attention to what's going on around you, because the universe is constantly trying to tell you stuff. And if you have like a synchronicity or coincidence, a major coincidence happens to you, stop everything. Just stop everything and say, why did that happen to me? And examine that coincidence. Right now, I'm in the middle of writing down every coincidence that I can remember in my life. I've got about 28 major coincidences in my life, and I can examine them now, look for patterns, because I wrote them down, you know. And, you know, major events in my life were because of synchronicities. And if I hadn't paid attention to it and acted on it, I don't know where I'd be right now. I mean, I wouldn't have gotten serious films made, and jobs that I had, and people that I met. And it's like, once you start examining the map of synchronicities of your life, and I highly recommend you do that, you begin to see the patterns that unfold before you. And then you see what the universe is really trying to do with you, because you have a purpose. And, you know, finding your purpose, as Steve Jobs once said, he said, if you don't like what you're doing, quit. Go do what you like. So,
Yeah.
And I live by that philosophy. You know, if I don't like what's happening, I'm out of there. I'm not going to waste any more of my life doing, you know, stuff I don't want to do. And so, you know, I tend to quit anything, usually really quickly. I don't let it linger. But if I've got a bad feeling about something, that's it. I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's great. Jay, you just gave us so much gold right there. We are going to take a little station break. And just to remind everybody, my amazing guest, Jay Weidner. Jay, could I just spend like 3 weeks with you, please, and just have you talk and talk and talk? It's just fascinating information. And this is Loretta Brown. We're going to take a little station break. We'll be right back.
All right, all clear.
Do you make a positive difference in the world? Do you have a talent, philosophy, base of knowledge, product or service that you know could help a lot of people if only you could reach them? Join Alternative Talk 1150's family of broadcasters and start walking down a fruitful path. As host of your very own program, dial 425-653-1150 and find out just how affordable it can be to have a show on 1150 AM. That's 425-653-1150. Alternative Talk, we have an opportunity waiting just for you.
Did you know that Reiki healing can be done at a distance? It's true. So let Reiki Oasis focus powerful energy to help relieve your stress, grief, sadness, anger, and so much more. Convenient, personalized treatments at a distance can increase lightness of being. During your appointment, find a quiet place to lie down or sit to receive healing energies. If you want help with your dis-ease, visit ReikiOasis.com. Harness life's energy. Visit ReikiOasis.com today.
When I smoke weed, I get lost in the music. I like to isolate each instrument. The rhythmic bass, the harmonies on the piano, the sticky melody.
Hey, careful, babe. There's someone crossing the street.
Sorry, I didn't see him there.
If you feel different, you drive different. Don't drive high. It's dangerous and illegal everywhere. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Working hard to put a smile on your face. Alternative Talk 1150.
Ready to come back? All right, stand by.
Just a reminder, these shows are archived. You can download them for free at the KKNW 1150 AM archives for the original Loretta Brown Show. And of course, we're everywhere. We're on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Podcast One, X, Megaphone, blah, blah. You get the idea. So please go check it out. I've been on the radio for, I don't know, long time, 12, 15 years, something like that. I think I've been here since Benny's twins were born.
Yeah, I called them blah blah too.
Yeah, blah blah. Blah blah
It
one
was-
and
it
blah
was
blah.
before we had names, right? That's blah and blah.
Blah blah. Anyway, we are having absolutely the most fascinating conversation with Jay. And wow, you said so much wonderful things that I want to jump in with something because you were talking about the light body and that we're mostly plasma. You said something in there about, you didn't actually say it this way, taking care of the light body, feeding the light body. And I loved what you said also about the fact that in the city, we have a tendency to pull all that way in, like, you know, and I'm going to throw this out and then have you talk on that. A few years back, went and climbed Mount Kailash in Tibet, because what else you got to do, right? You might as well go do that, go visit the gods. And when I was out there, the sky, everything was so expansive, and I, without really understanding, had expanded myself to such a degree that when the plane landed in Seattle and I got out, I was so crowded. I could feel the buildings, like it was so crowded, I couldn't hardly breathe. So talk to me a little bit about what can we do to nourish that light body? What can we do if we are city dwellers? What's some things that you do other than live in a beautiful location? We'll all come live with you, Jay.
Well, first off, do not listen to anybody that tells you to stay out of sunlight. They
Okay.
are absolutely out of their minds. Human beings are not meant to be indoors. But if you have to stay indoors, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you get outside for at least 1 hour every day and absorb sunlight, even if it's a cloudy day in Seattle, and you're still getting the light from the sun. I don't recommend this to anybody. I'm not a doctor, but me personally, I sun gaze every morning.
Yes.
Right when the sun coming over the horizon, I sit on my picnic table in full lotus, and I just absorb the light. I don't look straight at the sun. I look kind of down. I just let my eyes absorb the light. And you got to do it in the morning because that's when the sun is least harmful. And you have to eat organic food, and you have to eat, if you can, and you can't in the city, but if you can, grow your own food because you know that that's good food. But if you can't, then make sure you go to a really good place that it really cares about their food and buy it from them, even if it costs a little extra, because it's really important. Water, purified water it's got as a must. You must drink as clean water as possible. You need to spend an hour exercising every day, outside preferably. You need to spend an hour every day meditating. You need to spend an hour every day tackling a tough subject. Reading a difficult book, figuring out a difficult puzzle, something that activates your brain. So, it's your body and your mind and your spirit have to be constantly exercised. And then there's other things you can do. There's a light dark practice. You need friends to be able to do this, but you can put yourself into a completely dark room for 3 days. I know it's going to sound weird, but you put yourself in a completely no light at all can be in there. You can't have any light. And then your friends take you out at sunrise after the 3rd day, and you're blindfolded, and they take off your blindfold just as the sun comes over the horizon. And for the whole time that the sun's rising, you're staring straight into it after being in the dark for 3 days. What this does is the darkness activates the melatonin in your pineal gland. And since you're in the dark for 3 days, you really got a lot of melatonin in your pineal gland. When you stare at the morning sun, that melatonin is instantly converted to serotonin. Serotonin is 1 atom away from dimethyltryptamine, the most powerful psychedelic on earth. Okay. When you stare into that sun after 3 days of darkness, you're going to have friends hold you up because your knees are going to buckle. And you're going to have what is called an endogenous DMT experience. Endogenous means it comes from you. You didn't take a drug or anything like that. It's dimethyltryptamine manufactured by you, and you have it in you right now. We all do. It really gets activated when you dream. And so for the entire duration, you're having the most incredible personal experience. And then they put you back into the dark room after your experience. And apparently you have this experience goes on for a couple of days in the darkness before it finally calms down. And if you're really adventurous, you can stay in that dark room for 40 days. And what happens is that super serotonin is converted into super melatonin. Now, this is the real alchemy of the whole thing. Okay, so what does super melatonin do? Well, they gave, how do I put this? They gave, or how do I do this? They took, at Princeton, they took pineal glands out of old rats, and they took pineal glands out of young rats, and they gave the young rats the old person's pineal gland, and they gave the old rats the young rat's pineal gland. What happened? The old rats got young, and the young rats got old. You think the elites don't know this? They know it. So anyway, what is this dark light experiment doing? It's rejuvenating your pineal gland. That's what it's doing. It's putting super melatonin and super serotonin into your pineal gland, drug-free. It's just light and dark. You need some friends to help you because you got to get fed and all that. But apparently, you reverse the aging process.
Okay, you just blew me away, Jay.
Yep.
Wow. That's super important.
Super
It's
important.
super important.
Yep.
So this is reversing. That's a reversal of the aging process. And
Yep.
I already know just from what you're saying, like these are what I call ancient mysteries, or they're the hermetic
Oh,
sciences. I mean,
they're everywhere.
this
I
is the
talked to
truth.
shamans. I talked to
Yeah.
shamans in Peru,
Yeah.
catch shamans. They told me that's what we do. We have a cave that we go to. We come to the mouth of the cave. You think about Plato's cave. He's kind of telling you the same thing, right? I talked to Tibetans. The Catholic Church now knows that this is real, and they've sent priests out all over Tibet and India to see if they can find people that are doing this practice. You can see that the myth of Jesus is sort of this, isn't it?
Yes,
He
it
dies,
is.
he goes into the tomb, and then for 40 days, and then he ascends. So there's so many myths all around the world that speak of this light dark practice that I now know it's real. I've just talked to too many people. I now know. And again, this is the secret, and it's free. It's free.
Well, so you're talking about synchronicities earlier, and I'm having repeated, like I'm having deja vu with you, Jay. Something's going on with me, so I'm going to pay attention to that. But I just
Good.
last week was reading something about the ancient light dark practices of Egypt. Seriously, and what the priestesses were doing, the Magdalens or whatever you want to call, right? And so you just clicked that together for me, and I went, oh, because I'd already had this idea about, we're talking about the Jesus, the resurrection. We're talking about an alchemical process here.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I was raised Catholic, but I kind of eschewed the religion when I turned like 16 or something. And I never really looked at Christianity or anything, right? For years, decades. And then about 10 years ago, I decided I was going to read the New Testament. An alchemical friend of mine said, no, don't read the Old Testament. That's a bunch of junk. But go read the New Testament now that you know what you know. So I did. And I was like, whoa, this is the mind-blowing alchemical document I've ever read. And I was so blown away by it. And then, because I knew what was really going on with the resurrection and the tomb and all of that. And I was like, wow, after 3 days, he came out at dawn and he met the priestesses. I was like, holy moly.
Really? Yeah.
And then he went back and like, what? And then, he had to prove that he was who he was to Thomas, doubting Thomas. And the whole thing just blew my mind. And I realized, yeah, this is right. This is right. This was written by an alchemist. I don't know who wrote the New Testament, but whoever did, the original author was trying to teach you alchemy.
Yeah.
And the Templars knew that. That's what when they came back from Israel with their alchemical knowledge, they realized what the story of Jesus was really saying, not what, the priests had put on it because they didn't understand it. Even the Catholic Church now admits that they don't really understand the story of Jesus as they have been teaching it for 2,000 years.
Yeah. Yeah. It also ties in with Shroud of Turin, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Shroud of Turin. And also the Osiris mysteries, right? Like the Egyptian.
Yeah. All of that.
Yeah.
All that. Yeah. And in Egypt, I don't know if you know this, but there's many light-free tunnels underneath the Giza Plateau, and some of them have water now in the bottom of them, which is a very interesting experience to go down into a completely dark thing and then jump in some, leave 105-degree desert, go into this cool tunnel, walk down the tunnel, and then jump in the water that's at the bottom of the tunnel, which is like 50 degrees. And the contrast between the freezing cold and the super heat in the dark, wow. Man, the experience I had was like unbelievable. And I finally had to get out of the water because I thought I might drown. I was having such a incredibly vivid experience. Again, no drugs, just light and dark and heat and cold.
I want to hear every single piece of that sometime. Are you going to do you do these wonderful movies? I want to put a plug in there for you in the movies that you've done, because people need to just go watch them. Just do it one after another. Just keep watching them. You have so many truths in there. Are you going to do a movie about the alchemical of the resurrection or something, of the New
I'm doing
Testament?
a 7-part series right now called The Invisible Universe, all about this. And I'm hoping it'll be a series I can get on Netflix for 5 or 6 years, even. I hope. I want to get all this out now because,
Yep.
first off, everybody's receptive to it now, where they didn't understand anything I was saying before. And I don't know why that happened. I think it's the changing of the yugas
It
or
is.
something. And so if everybody's going to be like super open-minded suddenly after 30 years of closing me down, then I'm just going to get it all out as fast as I can and hope that something lands.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I like thumbs up you with all of that. And I'm just going to say from my own experience, like I kind of really, I don't know, I was born kind of online, because I saw dead people and all that as a little girl, angels and stuff. But in 1987 was kind of a big point for me of popping awake and getting into my work. And I have noticed that things are changing a lot now. So more people are very receptive to things that felt to me like slugging through mud for years, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I always I like to say when I first started doing this, I would get invited to parties, and then about 10 minutes after I'd start talking to people, the host would come on, well, Jay, I think it's time for you to go.
Yeah.
Right
Yeah.
now I get invited to parties because everybody wants to hear what I have to say. So
Yeah.
that's been the change and difference. I no longer terrify people the way I
Yeah.
used. And I never understood that, by the way. I never understood why this information would scare people, but it did.
Yeah. 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 I think I understood why it scared them, but I couldn't shy away from it. It's one of those
Couldn't either.
things. So it's like, why are you so intense? Maybe you could just lighten up and have some. I'm like, I am light. Don't you understand? Right? It's that kind of funny thing. Um, you know, I'm trying to figure out how to ask this question. Let me be with it for a moment. We have so much going on our planet right now, like so much going on. Um, that's why I'm trying to figure out how to ask the question. What is your take on where we're at? A lot of people are saying, well, we're in the middle of ascension, we're in the birthing canal, or, it's a separation of heaven and hell, or some such of a thing. What do you see or sense or know coming down in the next short period of time, maybe?
Well, we've left the Kali Yuga,
Okay.
the Dark Age. We've left that now. We're just starting in on the Dvapara Yuga, which is the Bronze Age. And then we'll, in a few thousand years, we'll slip into the Silver Age. And then a few thousand years after that, we'll slip into the Golden Age. And then that lasts a really long time. Then we slip back into the Silver Age, then back into the Bronze Age, and back into the Kali Yuga. So we've just come out of the Kali Yuga, and we all have PTSD from the absolute horror of the Kali Yuga. All of us have it. I call it the hangover. It's the Kali Yuga hangover, and we can't shake it. And it's really hard to shake. I can't even shake it. And it's just this general pessimism but things are getting better. And if you knew what was really happening on the technological front, like I do, I keep really up on it. We are in for a mind-blowing experience coming here, like this year. I mean, it's not like coming later, it's coming now. And it's driven by AI, the possibility of free, it's not really free, but super cheap energy, 0-point energy, and 3D printers. If you have AI 3D printer and
yes,
you're a powerhouse. You can make any part you want. You can make things that can't even imagine. We are on the edge of everybody having like the ability to be like, a giant manufacturing company, right? I mean, you'll be able to do anything you want. You can build cars out of your 3D printer. You can build anything you want. You got endless energy, and you got AI directing the whole thing. So I believe that we live on the precipice of an amazing time. I really do. I think that what's ahead of us is so, and I think that's why we don't want war. It used to be every time when somebody would say war, oh yeah, let's go. But no, not anymore. Everybody's no, we don't want that anymore. And it's just a growing awareness of it, and it's the end of the darkness, and it's the beginning of the light. And every day it should just get better and better, because we're going towards the golden age, and we're going to figure out problems that we've never been able to figure out before. And I don't know. My only thing is I hope I get to live another 50 years just to see how beautiful this is going to be. And so I'm not pessimistic at all. I don't like bombing countries and things. I wish we wouldn't do that anymore. There's got to be a better way to do this. And, I want the Abrahamic religions, except for Christianity, to ebb away. I think we're kind of done with all that stuff now, and new forms of spirituality will be now forming, and people will be understanding who we really are. And I really regard that more or less as my mission from here on out, as to spread the joy.
Yes, to everything you just said. And I totally agree with you. I'm excited about what's coming, the future. Like, I'm in it, and I'm with you too. I'm thinking I'm going to do that darkness thing. Maybe we should like pinky promise each other so we can keep hanging out, right? Anti-age ourselves and keep hanging out, right?
Yeah.
Like the great masters.
Yeah.
But yeah, to increase our longevity, to be around to see the result of all the work that we've been doing, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it's important.
Yeah.
A lot of people that I know that, have passed away in the last few years, especially since you know what. And
Yes.
it's really sad, because they had a lot to contribute, and they're not here anymore. So, it makes me sad.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually feel the same way. So I don't even know how to ask this question either. If you could just sort of tell the listening audience, like, where to find you, where to find your excellent movies, which I'm sorry, I'm like a ridiculous fan of yours, Jay. And I do watch everything you do, going, oh, there's another thing. I got to watch that, right? But just kind of tune people into where they can find you, find your movies, that kind of a thing. Yeah.
Well, my two new movies that have come out in the last 2 years are up on Amazon. That would be JFKX and A Clockwork Shining, which is the third part of my Kubrick's Odyssey trilogy now. And my movies are up on Amazon, or Gaia has them. Gaia.com has them. And I have 20 movies, 25 movies, something like that. And I have a new series coming out, The Invisible Universe, which is pretty much about what we've been talking about. And you can find my writings at jayweidner.com. And I guess that's it.
It sounds great. Yeah. What do you feel is, and you probably already covered it, what do you feel is the most important thing coming out right now, maybe in our consciousness, because we've had things hidden for a long time. What is it they're working so hard to hide? What is coming through anyway? Go there.
Yeah, well, they want you to be afraid. Okay. That's their number one goal. And if you're afraid, then they can control you. So if you finally figure out that you don't die, which has kind of been explained in this show, then you don't really have anything to fear. And when you don't have anything to fear, now they fear you. And that's where we want to be. We want them to fear us. We don't want to spread fear. We know how it feels to be afraid, because we were just in the Kali Yuga. So now we want the people that are running the world, the corrupt people that are running this world, and they're more corrupt than you can ever believe. I'm still to this day in awe about how evil these people are. Yeah. But they're a product of the Kali Yuga, and they're going to go away. They're still caught in their PTSD hangover, and you just got to let them work it out, right? So the best thing to do is to, not live in fear, because that's what they want. And they want you to be afraid of everything, but you have nothing to be afraid of, because you're an eternal being, and you're just here for a little short while, and you're digging the experience of life and love and children and nature and all of that, but that one day will go away too. But that doesn't mean it's over for you. It just means that part will change. And everything in this universe, everything in this realm dies. Okay, it's part of it. You can extend your life, but if you live too long, you'll go mentally crazy. You have to go back into the plasma sphere and regurgitate. It's absolute must. And those who don't face serious mental anguish.
Ooh, that's a good piece. That's a good piece. That's our cliffhanger until the next time I have you on the show, Jay. I am so thrilled you were on my show. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. You gave so much goodness out there and light and wisdom, and I hope made the listeners curious to dig deeper. And yeah,
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
You're so welcome. And everybody, have a great week. Enjoy the week. Hello to July, and Betty Mathers. You are always the best. Thank you.